Happy Monday, guys. Welcome back to Inside the Lines, a rainy Monday here in South Florida. First rainy Monday in a very long time that I can remember. Nonetheless, we got some NBA tonight. We have some MLB, late MLB slate. Jake is going to answer all of your questions. We have a new nice little prop tool that we're going to get to. So put your MLB questions in the chat for sure. Before we get to that, we definitely want to talk about some of the draft situation going on. So I'll bring in the guys here. Around this time, right before the draft, there's some crazy steam and some crazy rumors that start to get spread. We saw it last year. This is around when Will Levis started to be like minus 200 to be the first or second pick, stuff like that. So, Jake, what have we been noticing NFL draft updates we can talk about quick here?
Yeah, you have to be very cognizant of these smoke screens. Some of these agents are really well connected, and some of it's teams who want their player to fall, and they're saying, oh, I heard that this player is going top 5 for sure. So that's what you have to be really cognizant of. And right now, the big smoke's on JJ McCarthy. He's just zooming up the boards. But I mean, he's one player you've heard it for at least a couple of weeks. So I would be less cognizant of that just because that's been happening. But there's some other players that I would watch out for that will definitely steam up in the next couple of days. Who it probably is the work of agents or teams.
Okay. So go ahead, Steven.
Sorry, Jake. Do you have a sense of how heavy the action is on NFL draft betting? Because I'm wondering how much it takes for a single big wager to move a line.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, are there the sharps out there who can try to arbitrage this stuff and hedge this and that and everything else in the world?
I'd say it's probably the amount of people who like college baseball.
Yeah, so in that case, you can really steam a line one bet.
So I think it's very definitely, you could definitely arbitrage some of these values.
Maybe you could put up a poll, Mackenzie. Have any of you? How much do you bet? On NFL draft? Because it's just kind of curious about the line movement can be pretty crazy. I mean, not to again praise Jake too much, but the fact that you got plus money on Bryce Young to go first last year and CJ Stroud to go second. There's no way in hindsight they should have been any different order, it's crazy.
Yeah, so the JJ McCarthy steam, I guess we would consider is real truthful steam, not agents. But with that said, correct me if I'm wrong, our favorite spot for JJ McCarthy is to bet him at the 4th pick and bet him at the 5th pick, hoping that he is 4 or 5 and profiting regardless of that pick.
Yeah, I think 4 or 5 is probably still the safer bet.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about some other players here real quick. I know Bo Nix, we were seeing some first-round steam a little bit here, something that we would consider something to fade.
Yeah, I mean, he's been linked to Denver. I think Denver's minus 175 to draft Bo Nix. And you, like I said with Penix, is you want to get a 5th-year option with the quarterback so that you could trade back in the first round. I still am not buying it in the first round. I could see it in the second round. I'm just not buying it in the first, but you never know.
This is only half jokingly, but they did just get Zach Wilson.
So, yeah.
I mean, I saw Zach Wilson. He would just the technical word is poop the bed in the worst possible time. But a lot of times he played games or 75% of the game, he was more than serviceable. Mm-hmm. And, a guy like that with his skill set, you never know what Sean Payton thinks he can do and what his opinion of Zach Wilson was coming out of the draft.
I mean, and he is from Utah, so it's a lot closer.
He's probably young. He's probably younger than Bo Nix.
Probably the same year.
Yeah. So
might surprise me.
Before we get to the NBA, I know there's a ton of more draft props coming out as well, a lot of head-to-head matchups as well. We were talking about ones that we think might be worth looking at that isn't some crazy steam or crazy juice here. Let's take a look at this one, Jake. I know we were talking about it this morning with Mitchell.
Yeah, Steve and I were talking about this is when you see, I know he's not definitely cornerback 1, but most mocks have him as cornerback 1. And rarely do you see the first cornerback taken after the top 10 picks. Fatanu is pretty much offensive lineman 4 behind some of these really good guys like Alt and
Fashanu.
Fashanu and the guy from Oregon State, Fuaga. So he's probably offensive lineman 4. I know he's gotten some steam. He was at one point mock to your Broncos, not to your Ravens, late in the first round. But now he's steaming up. A lot of people have him going to Washington because of that Washington connection. But I think the first cornerback on the board is probably going to go before 13. And so I like him at plus money to be before 13. And I like this matchup. I think probably 75% of mocks that I've looked at have had him going before Fatanu.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good sneaky spot that not everyone's looking at here. Good to get the minus 115 while you can. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Looking at our updated draft bets we've given out weeks and months ago here. Probably actually, I didn't update the Chiefs or Jags here, but I bet that's even more juiced here. But all good plus money value plays when we gave them out. You see Penix going as deep as minus 240. I was around 200 over on FanDuel here. Joe Alt, though, to be the 7th pick, got him at plus 160. You cannot find plus money on that anywhere here. So a lot of, same with Jaden Daniels to be 2nd pick. We also gave him out as 3rd pick here, but that minus 260, showing we're leaning towards 2nd here. We got that at plus 115. So pays to watch early, pays to listen to Jake Fettner about the NFL draft. Any more questions, we're definitely happy to answer as well. All right, let's get into the NBA here. We got a few games tonight. I was just doing my research for my props here. I'm stealing one of yours, Steven. But let's start with this Orlando-Cleveland game here. And Jake, I'll send you to the chat to talk some MLB.
Yeah, in this game, the model got an A pick right on Cleveland minus 4.5 in game 1. Even the line's at 5.5. It's still going to go with Cleveland because it's all about Cleveland coming over their team total of 104.5. We have projected for 111, and 111 is just 1 point less than what Orlando allowed all season long. So Mitchell look healthy, look spry. So I kind of like that. Usually I get scared in the NBA with the zigzag theory, where it's like a team that plays really well one game, usually the other team responds. Orlando is just a team that all season long allowed 7 more points on the road, 112 than they did at home. They are 2-point differential. It goes from plus 4% at home to minus 3 on the road, plus 1 from 3 to minus 2 on the road. So and then rebounding plus 5 at home to minus 1. So I just like those, season long 41 games of sample size, 42 now with Orlando playing one playoff game, that they're just not the same team on the road. So I'm feeling comfortable even at 5.5 and 2 spread picks. But the player prop I like to go along with Cleveland's offense scoring more than the odds makers expect is Darius Garland, the one Cavalier who didn't have a great game. He had 25 PRA and he's only had 22. So I think it's the previous game. So it's a nice little buy low spot. I want to toot my own horn. I did have Garland over 13.5 and he had 16 in the first half to raise our nice trajectory for our picks in the NBA here. So
and Evan Mobley was good to us too.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Mobley. He had 16 and then he stopped scoring. But nevertheless, once he got over the 13 I was cool.
There are some times where I when I bet on these West Coast games and I go to bed and I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is check to see if my prop hit.
Yeah.
And then I'll go 3 hours of the day and realize I didn't even look at the score. I literally just immediately went to the prop. I had no idea who won the game. I was so hyper fixated on going to my props.
In this one, I had a pretty good friend that I met when I was 13 years old visiting. And so he started watching the games and I saw him go on the scoring blitz. So I was like, time to grill. And I grilled up a storm by 5 things. It turned out really well. But so Garland, he's had a really strong season trend, 79 over. Again, I think there's buy low value in his last month, which is the over is only 6 and 7, but it is still 25.8, which is over this line. I think. So we make a lot of jokes about the he's due theory, but I think in the playoffs it actually matters because a player like this, who's a great player, all-star level player, who put up certain numbers all season long to contribute to a team to get home court advantage the first round, that's who the coaching staff wants. They've built a team around that. And so when a player is coming under a couple games in a row, they'll actually look to get him reestablished. Also, a great player like Garland will focus more and do whatever it takes to get his mental straight to actually, control what he can control in terms of the he's due factor. So I kind of think that he's due in the playoffs. If this is Jordan Poole in the 78th game of the year, the he's due does not apply. But it's if it's Darius Garland in a game where he didn't play his best, he's prior to his last game, the game 1, his over was 4-1 with a 33 PRA versus Cleveland.
Yeah, I saw. This is going to be pretty ugly, but I'm out here looking for some plus money plays right now. I'm 7-6 so far in play-ins and playoffs, up a unit, which I know you're going to tell me is great news. But I'd I'd like to get running a little more. So one play I found some good value on is Gary Harris over 1.5, 3 points made up plus 120. I don't think the model technically agrees, but he is 2 for 14 in his last 3 games.
Yeah.
In my head, that's pretty hard to do again.
We might have had maybe my database is an error, but I have even worse than that. I have 2 for 18.
Oh,
which is even more.
Sure, fine.
Even
Love
better
the volume.
for you. Yeah.
But I'm no NBA coach here, but I have to assume that he will not be the Cavs defense #1 priority going into this game. And if they're playing from behind, hopefully they're just launching up shots here. So I think it would be really hard for him to only have 1 3 based off his volume and based off how bad he's been recently. So hoping we're seeing a he's due effect here as well. And I like the price here. A couple
I like that because Mobley and Allen are awesome defensive combo, and so maybe they won't get much in the paint, and so they have to.
That's what I was thinking. I feel like it could be like Wagner going into the paint, dishing out to the perimeter type of situation is where my head's at.
But Harris is on Big Cheese's S list, so that doesn't help.
Oh, sorry, Big Cheese. We do have a ton of questions coming from D. Johnson here in the chat, though.
All right.
Let's start with Jared Allen.
We have 11.3, so no value. We do like over his PRA, so I think looking at the numbers, we probably like value on his points. But that's, again, because our projection for Cleveland is almost 7 points above their team total, and during the playoffs, they shortened the bench, so most of those 7 points are coming from the 5 starters. So most of our projected points might be a point and a half higher than the line.
Mm-hmm. And then what about Cole Anthony here over 5 points? I was actually looking at this.
We have tons of value at 7.5, but he's all over the map, right? 23 in this blowout win against Milwaukee. No, the loss against Milwaukee, and then 7, then 13, and 4. I was looking at that too. You just never know. You'll know if you bet the over if he hits his first shot, if you're going to get it. Because if he hits his first shot, then he'll take at least 4 more before he stops shooting. And then he'll probably hit at least 1 more 3 after that.
Pretty risky play. Pretty risky play. I think I'm echoing. You guys can let me know if that sounds like
it's fine. I am. It's fine. Okay. It sounds like Robert Plant at a Led Zeppelin concert. It's fine.
Perfect. That's what I was going for. All right, let's move over to the Sixers playing in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks here. Still don't have complete clarity on Embiid or Maxey. Nonetheless, even if they do play, I can't imagine it's going to be that pretty. But you go ahead with your prop first. I also have one for this game.
Yeah, I had to avoid the Sixers because when I did this, I like to do it early and get out of the way. And I'm glad I didn't. I double check this, and I lost the value here. DiVincenzo, I liked it at over 22 and a half. It was like minus 110, minus 106. But now you get 21 and a half, minus 125. And it's always a little scary when it goes against you, the steam. But at the same time, it's more value, and I got to have some guts. Model has 25. I am fading a season trend where it's only 22 at home and 19 and 23 over. But before game 1, where he only had 12, he had the over was 11 and 2. Specifically, he's been rebounding and getting a lot of assists. He's been scoring pretty well for a good stretch now, but he only played 24 minutes in the first game because Miles McBride was hot. So as long as assuming McBride doesn't come in and maintain an incredibly hot shooting, keeping DiVincenzo on the bench, and if DiVincenzo gets his normal 34, 35 minutes, then I think that we'll get a nice over.
Yeah, I stole this one too. It isn't my other prop that I have on my own, but I do like this one because even his assist numbers should go up if Brunson plays better than, what was he, like 8 for 29 or something last game?
Yeah. And, Philly's defense might, if Maxey is sick with the flu, Lowry's old and not always in the best shape, and Embiid can't move.
Yeah.
It doesn't bode well for a great defense from Philly.
Yeah, I just have to imagine that the Knicks starters will objectively play better than they did last game, and that could mean, good things for all 3 stat categories for DiVincenzo. So I like that play as well. On the other side of the ball, I am going with, this is a little bit like my Lou Dort play, but no way I can lose 2 of those in a row. Tobias Harris, over 12.5 points here. We haven't projected for 15 with Embiid and Maxey playing, and even, again, there's a chance neither of them play. There's a chance one of them plays. There's a chance even if they do play, they're not playing awesomely. I would like this max contract player to get 13 points. I have a feeling Nick Nurse feels the same way. I have a feeling Toby feels the same way. He's had decent 3-point attempts, 1 for 4 last night. So I just, other than his last 2 games, he had a really decent stretch to this over. I think his past 6 games prior to the last 2 were all
he was
like
on a
comfortably
run.
over. Yeah.
I like that he's rebounding the ball 12, 6, 8, 10, 9. I mean, roughly 9 rebounds a game for the last 5. That means he's working and he's not going to be in the doghouse. Like if he had 3 rebounds a game, then he's like, okay, but
he's doing just enough to stay in and stay prominent. I just can't. He needs 13 points. If Embiid and Maxey are in the state that they're in, I just can't imagine a game where he's not at least.
Maybe you can ask Jake because I don't know if his own Anunoby like on Harris. Would they because Anunoby's a great defensive player, and so I guess he'd be matched up with Harris, and maybe that's why Harris would struggle. But maybe they'll play Anunoby and use him some other way and give Harris a better chance of scoring.
Let's bring Jake in here. Maybe he has some answers.
So he pretty much switched all over the place. He was even on Embiid for a couple possessions. They quickly switched him off because that did not work. He got 2 foul calls. But yeah, he guarded Maxey, Harris, and even Embiid a little. But they switched off a lot the next game one.
Okay, well, so maybe it's not in my favor if Maxey or Embiid don't play.
I think you got to hope. If you got to sacrifice your team, your love of the team versus this bet, and I think you got to hope that New York's kind of killing them. Yeah. And then and Bogdanovich is shooting lights out, so they just let him run, and then Harris can get some run if Bogdanovich is on the other end.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all I see for. Oh, we got a question on Brunson rebounds and assists here. Lines at 11.5.
We have 11, just under 11, so not good value. But I think 41 minutes. He's certainly had good rebounds and assists last few games, but his rebounds have been particularly strong, oddly strong the last 2 games, I would say. I don't think that's sustainable because I think that we like both centers, Hartenstein and Robinson, who played well against Embiid, to get a little more run with Embiid there, and that could cut into Brunson's rebounding. When it comes to prop betting, it's not just the opposing team that you got to worry about; it's your own team.
Mm-hmm. True. All right. Let's move on to the last game of the night here. Lakers Nuggets. We're on our boy again. This is too late for me to put any of my own props on.
He let us down by not getting over, was it 14.5 points, 15.5 points? But it wasn't. It was more because D'Angelo Russell. So the model has 26, over 26, and line's 22.5. Strong season trend, 28-14 over on the road and at home. You got some buy low value. His 5-4 under last 9 games, and all his unders were, his high was 20 of these unders, a lot of in the teens. But again, D'Angelo Russell had really struggled game 1. So I'm hoping that Russell is struggling early, has a defensive lapse and gets pulled. And then if Russell struggles, then Reeves goes back to being the number 3 scorer, maybe getting 14, 15 shots, scoring at least 15 points, and becomes the number 2 ball handler behind LeBron, and hopefully gets around 5 assists, and then you get your normal rebounds, get 3 of those, and there you go. But if Russell comes out hot, hopefully you get some Reeves assists and some rebounds as Russell's like leaking out. But again, I am more, this could go over easily if Russell struggles.
Right. Which is possible. After he cashed his over 5.5 assists for us, or 4.5.
Yeah, he didn't have an assist. He had 6
now
assists
over
and hasn't done anything ever since then.
Dude, that keeps happening to us. Like, I don't know what's going on. We cash so easily in the first half, and then they don't see another.
You don't complain about You don't complain about that.
No,
we're not betting. We're not betting any of those styles where you can like get extra. Where it's like blitz betting when if you get a bonus for if you go over by even more, or you get penalized by the more under you get. Which is a terrifying thing to do, to bet the under on a game that goes to overtime, and then you see yourself lose a ton of money. I think that's what they do a lot in Australia.
Go ahead.
There are a few act nows, I think, for tomorrow's games that I wanted to quickly point out. These are not necessarily official plays, but I thought that the lines would definitely steam. So if you like those sides, you might want to grab them. I think Halliburton, he was way too passive in game 1. He had like 5 shots through 3 quarters. He rebounded well. The line was 35.5 for game 1. It's priced at 2.2 below that. That's below his season average. And I do think this is a case where coaching and Rick Carlisle says, hey, dude, take the shot. Before recently, he was on the stretch where he's had high volume of threes, 8.5 threes, and making 3.5. And then recently, he's only had 1 and 3 and 0 for 4. So I think this guy goes back to being an aggressive 3-point shooter. Try to give Dame a little bit of his own medicine, and this line will go up. So if you like Halliburton over, he might be on my S list. So I don't know what to do about that. But if he's not on yours, then get 33.5. Luka, 52.5. The reason why he came so short, he had 52 but that was because the team couldn't score the first half. They scored 29 the first half, and Luke only had 6 assists. It's hard to get 9-10 assists when your team has 29 points and a half. So I don't see that happening again. So I like the value here. Model's got a ton of value. This one, Model's actually on the under for Jaquez at 23.5, but you can get plus money on Fanatics, and other lines sort of at minus 117 on the over. So if you like the under, you probably want to wait. But if you like the over, you might want to get plus money while you can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm ready to start fading Jaquez. It's been a fun ride, but it might be time to be on the other side of that. But I see where your head's at. If people do like that, Classic Fanatics giving us the best line. Don't know what that's about.
And like maybe people are waiting Terry Rozier status, but he's listed as week to week. And whenever the description on RotoWire is his neck injury is not career ending. So it's like, okay, if that's the best you can say. It's like she's got a great personality, Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's got a great personality. It's not the first description you want to hear. It's like it's not career ending. It's not the best. Yeah. That doesn't mean that seems to indicate lean strongly toward your out game too.
Exactly. All right, Jake. Let's take a look into the MLB now. I saw a few questions sprinkled throughout the chat from the beginning of the show, so we can get into whatever you think. I'll share your screen here. We'll do a little switcheroo on the model to the MLB side.
Yeah, so the most recent question was Jonathan Cannon over 14.5 outs. So that's what we'll start off with if the database wants to load. Of course, it's not loading now that we just started it. Here we go.
It's nervous.
So it's Cannon's second MLB start, so not a lot of data, but we can see like what we have it at. We have him at 16.3 outs, so we have him going 5 1/3. So there's slight value. The one that I was looking into was Suarez today versus the Reds, considering Suarez just pitched a complete game shutout against Colorado in his last game. And the consensus line that we have is, I think, 15.5 outs, and we have him at 17.7. So if you look at the top right, the outs are 16.5 now. At 17.7, was 15.5 heavily juiced. So, but there's still 1 out of value there. So I don't mind that play if you like Suarez. Don't love the Cannon prop, but don't hate it.
Okay.
See any other questions in the chat you've seen? I saw that's why I don't love the Suarez, because since he's a lot better against lefties than they are against righties. But Suarez has been good, and he's been really good with his off-speed stuff. And so usually after a pitcher goes 9 innings, he has his worst start of the season the next start. So that's why I stayed off of that. Saw a couple more questions.
There's a few props. Brady Singer over 4.5 strikeouts was one of them.
Yeah, I saw a Trey Turner question. His line at 2.5 is plus money, but we have it at 2.6. It's runs and RBIs, so nothing really there. One interesting prop was Schwarber to get a hit over half a hit is minus 140. It was minus 125, so a lot of people are on it. I kind of like the matchup against Hunter Green. I don't mind the matchup for him to score a run too. We have him scoring a run and almost 80% of Sims, 0.78. So I don't mind that play as well. If you look at Kyle Schwarber log right here, we'll have him. His runs is over half a run at minus 128, so 0.78. I'd say there's some value there. So I kind of like Schwarber to score a run. Looking into that.
Is Bryce Harper not in there?
He should be.
Oh.
Bryce, I guess he's not in the lineup today, so no.
Interesting.
Stay off of Bryce, yeah. Which is interesting, yeah, because you'd think it'd be a really good matchup against Hunter Green. So hopefully he's healthy, but looks like he's not in the lineup today.
He's having a kid.
Oh, right. He is having a kid. I do remember
Luckily, Scotty Scheffler didn't have his kid this morning, and I cashed on him to win
Yeah, that was crazy.
that was the only thing that could have taken Scotty away from me, was his wife having a baby.
Hate when that
happens.
Gives him
5 strokes, and I was like, the only thing that could cause us to lose is if his wife has a baby. And luckily, she didn't have it today.
What is it with these athletes and having babies in the middle of their season?
I know.
The crazy thing is Scotty's 1 year older than me, and he's just won like $12 million the last 2 weeks. Yeah, he's 27 years old now. Feeling kind of old.
He looks a lot older. You don't look that old, Jake, if it makes you feel better.
Oh, thank you.
He looks old.
I'm anti-paternity leave. I'm a very active hands-on father, but come on, there's just millions of dollars on the line here.
What about CBS's paternity leave? Are you anti-CBS?
I'm not allowed to say. Well, I mean, no one's watching this, but yeah, I am actually. The length of it, whenever it happens, my advice is you can't help those first few weeks, months. So to take your paternity leave like later, when the kids actually can move around a little bit, and then you can actually help.
That's fair.
And during in our case, during baseball season when we're not crushed. But yeah, you can't take it in October if you work for the fantasy football team or something.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at Hunter Green walks. That is one of my favorite plays that we usually have. We only have him projected for 1.9 walks. His line is probably like 2.5. So probably not any value there. Probably have value in the under, but where it's heavily juiced at 1.5. But I would not bet under Hunter Green walks anytime.
Yeah. Talk about lag.
I know. Big time lag right now, but I'd probably stay off unless you get good value, like over 1.5 walks at -150 is probably the max juice I'd take on that.
All right. I don't see any other pressing questions right now. Seems like our models need some time to warm up to the MLB season as well. Brushing off some rust with the new player prop stuff for here, but we will get it moving and churning very soon. All right, this is the just small recap screen right now for the 3 NBA games. We have 3 props. Again, some act now plays. If you do like them, we're not necessarily on them. Just trying to warn you guys of where the steam is headed for tomorrow's games. But tomorrow we will be giving out some more official picks for those Tuesday game 2s. I am curious to see after these NHL games if we go 16-0 in the home team game 1 playoffs combined for the NBA and NHL. That'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was like I realized that because I was updating I update the odds for each series, and I update the number of games that it could go. And I was like, why do I keep deleting the same row, which is the bottom row, which is
right
the away teams, with winning in a sweep. But it's like, every single one.
All right. And Jake's adding Schwarber to score around at -120 as an official play.
Yeah.
Fair. We'll add that there. All right.
Testing out the new props. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, that's all we got for today. Any more questions, feel free to reach out to us as always. Good luck with your bets tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow.